Cool. So hopefully you can see that.
You can.
Cool, great. So I'm just going to give you, I guess, a quick sort of oral overview of the application and how you might use it, and then I'm going to sort of show you the application in real time using the user interface. So I've say a little bit of repetition, but I'll sort of quickly summarize those bits. So Cenefits is a web and mobile application for organizations to deliver social impact in their project scales. That includes community benefits, as well as potential types of activity, which I think, obviously in this case, the focus is very much on the community benefits part, but other organizations potentially, capture other types of benefits like community wealth building and social value and those kind of types of things. I guess the unit of the main unit of container essentially for the benefits of things that are being delivered are called projects in our application. I think they're analogous to the contracts that you're part of as annexure. And those projects, essentially the buyer organization, project managers can, once they've entered all the information for those projects, they can mark those projects as unpublished or published. And when they're published, essentially yourself, suppliers and delivery partners are notified by email to let you know that the project is published and what benefits inside it relate to you. In addition to the projects being published, there's also reminders for when there are benefits that are due to be looked at. So the week before, the week of, and the week after a delivery date for a benefit, there's an email digest on the Tuesday which contains links to the benefits that are due to be looked at. And if a delivery date doesn't have evidence submitted to it by the end of the period, then the project manager from the buyer organization gets an email to let them know. So essentially, within a sort of supplier or delivery partner organization, there's sort of two types of users: employees and admins. At the moment, everyone are just employees, but we're adding a feature soon, which lets you also pay a small fee per month to have an admin user, which has some additional functionality. But the main type of user at the moment in the application are just employees, and those are people who are assigned by the buyer organization to benefits to let them receive email notifications about the benefits and be able to upload evidence and I guess optionally in this case, perhaps later on, feedback as well, and also be able to edit their own profile and access a link to our technical support. So a very simple set of functionality, hopefully very easy to use, and I'll run through that in detail with you after these slides. But yeah, there is also a feature we've been working on for admins for supplier organizations, which I guess is an optional additional thing that you could have, which makes it easier for you to do things like invite your own employees to your own organization in the application, and to mass assign or unassign employees to benefits as your staff change, and to download reports about all the projects and benefits you're working on, whether it's with South Lanarkshire or with other buyer organizations as well. But I won't go into that in any detail today unless people who stay on at the end are keen to know about that. I'm going to focus on that sort of simpler universal use case of the employee user. So in terms of capturing evidence, so as I say, for each of these delivery dates for a benefit, you'll be presented with one or more questions which Jen and the team have set up for you to answer. So you've got to answer those questions, and then once you've answered those questions, you can click create evidence and attach one or more sort of documents or photos in addition to the textual answers that you've put to the questions for the benefit. And then you can click to submit it for approval by the buyer's project manager or contract manager. So they'll get an email notifying them so that they'll know that they need to go in and check what you've submitted to them. There's also a set of functionality called suggestions. So in addition to answering those kind of, I guess, those compulsory questions that have been set, there's some things you can suggest as well as changes to the actual details of the benefit. So one of them is a benefit label, which essentially is a way to help you and South Lanarkshire better identify a benefit. If you want to have a little shortcut to help you identify what that is, a little phrase or something which helps you capture the precise instance of that benefit. You've got the ability to kind of, I guess, suggest changes to delivery dates. Perhaps you'd originally agreed a set of dates and maybe you have to change it for some reason. So you could suggest some changes to dates there. Location. So again, perhaps you'd previously thought of a particular location you're going to do it, but you want to then change that, potentially suggesting a different location. and maybe once you get into the detail of delivering something, you have a better idea of the cost of it, and you can suggest a value for that there. And then final one, I guess South Lanarkshire will have set various benefit priorities for their benefits, and perhaps you'll notice that in the delivery of the benefit you'll be meeting some more priorities, so you could suggest some additional benefit priorities from their set that might be relevant and interesting to them to capture. But those are all the kind of, I guess, suggested things that are optional. It's really that submitting the answers to the questions is the main thing. So once you've essentially created your evidence with the textual answers to the questions, attached any files or photos you want to, and if you wanted to suggest any changes to the benefit data itself, the project manager from the buyer, the contract manager, gets that email, letting them know that you've done that, and then they can then log into the application and read the answers that you've put to the questions, look at any of the attachments, and also if there are suggested changes, separately approve those, and then once they approve the whole thing, you get an email confirming that the benefit's been approved and thanking you for your work, and giving you an optional ability to submit feedback as well, which I think Jenna mentioned that they're not really using at the moment, but perhaps will in future. But if they reject it, perhaps there's a reason for that. Perhaps it's not quite detailed enough what they're looking for, or maybe otherwise differs from the kind of the guidance that they issue around the types of things that you should include in an answer, or perhaps there's some kind of GDPR question. So maybe there's a reason for rejecting it. So they'd be able to type in that reason and send an email back to you, which would basically prompt you to make some requested changes. And you can go in again, edit and resubmit those changes. I think benefit status has already been mentioned, but essentially benefits have a number of different statuses. So the not started, in progress, delayed, abandoned, overdue, delivered, partially delivered, substituted, or not delivered. And some of those have the option for the buyer organisation to put in an explanation for why they're in that status, I guess, for their records. But essentially those statuses are there to kind of help move things along smoothly in the benefits capturing process. I'll briefly mention feedback. I think as mentioned, I don't think in this case that South Lanarkshire is intending to use this initially, but perhaps we'll later on. But part of the process, once you have had the benefit approved, there is a link to allow you to submit feedback if you'd like to. So it's really just follows a similar process to the benefits, but there are different questions that you get asked. So essentially a similar, and I can run you through it today, but a similar view where you're presented with questions which you can answer, and if you want to, you can attach any photos and documents in addition once you've clicked to create feedback and submit it for approval, and then again it gets checked by the buyer project manager, and they can approve it or reject it. So I guess mainly just to make sure there's a good, this is I guess a public record. So whilst there probably wouldn't be any guidance about feedback perhaps, but certainly making sure that it's appropriate content for the public record. In terms of, I guess, the performance of projects and benefits in the application, so we've got a number of different ways in which we sort of automatically try and allow the buyer organisation to keep a track of how well things are going. So we have an automatic red, amber, green status, which we generate for projects in real time, which is based on the number of benefits, the amount of value points, emission savings that should have been delivered in a particular by a particular date. So because we know when things have a final delivery date, a completion date by, we're able to automatically kind of show a RAG status for those projects based on the proportion of those things in those projects that are complete. But in some cases, perhaps a buyer project manager might enter particular manual target dates for these things to help them to scope out future work. So if at the start of a project, everyone hasn't agreed what all the benefits in that project would be, they've got the option to kind of set those manual targets so that they can help to kind of make sure that they're covering all the benefits that they want to. So just these are not things, I guess, for you to necessarily worry about. Just I guess to be aware in the background, there are a couple of ways to try and make sure holistically we're keeping track of things. So there are a couple of reports which actually I don't know if well I'll mention them. So for the admin users, which was not the kind of the focus of today, but there are a couple of reports that you can download about the projects that you're working in across the piece, across the different buyers. So information about the projects, including the kind of the project or contract details and the number of benefits being delivered and points being delivered, and then also kind of probably a more useful report, which is the kind of the benefits report, which shows you the all the details of the benefits and where they're at in terms of their process of submitting and approving evidence, as well as kind of account for all of the benefit priorities to live and things like that as well, and any feedback and evidence which has been submitted. But I wasn't going to go into those any detail today, but can do at the end if you like. So I think we have a product website, and I think Jen's already mentioned that we have a support site as well, which has some FAQs and information. Maybe I can show you briefly in a moment what's on there. And we're working on some new videos as well, generic videos for how to use the application once we've finished the current version that we're working on at the moment. So I'm going to flip now to the application and maybe show you a little bit from that employee perspective. So you can still see the screen, and maybe actually maybe I can zoom in a little bit as well. It might help you to see it. So this is me logged in as just a regular, I guess, supplier or delivery partner employee user, which is pretty much all of our supplier and delivery partner users are in this state at the moment. So it's a very simple interface that they've got. So I guess just worth mentioning, obviously there is a web application interface, a website interface like this that you can see, as well as there's a mobile application for Android and for iOS that you can download and you can use on your phone or tablet as well. So they're kind of a slightly different view. Let me see if I can. Well, I mean, maybe try and show you that in a minute. But the slightly simplified view, obviously on the mobile front, but with the exact same functionality that you can use. So I guess the reason you might want to use the mobile version is if you're and about, maybe the thing you're delivering is is essentially something in person where you maybe want to take a photograph of it. So obviously it's quite easy to, as part of the evidence, to capture a photograph using the device's camera and attach it straight away. So I guess maybe some scenarios where you're out and about and you wanted to capture things, or we're just wanting to do things in that more dynamic way than sitting at the computer. So obviously there is that option as well. But I'll just run you through the kind of the basic flow here for submitting evidence. So I guess as an employee of an organization, you may have been assigned to a particular benefit to provide evidence to the authority, and if you're in the application anyway, if you logged in, I guess you've got two kind of views here. One evidence view, which shows you, I guess, all of the evidence which you've been assigned to, which is not yet complete, for benefits which aren't yet complete. Anything which is not sort of currently due or pending is not in bold. Anything which is due is in the delivery date, which is either a week away, or thereafter, and it hasn't been submitted yet, would be in bold here, and it also would appear in the pending evidence tab. So I guess the pending evidence tab is the kind of one to really, I guess, pay attention to in terms of making sure that you're meeting the deadlines, the dates that are set, and the delivery dates that are set in the benefit. But the fuller list of perhaps future evidence might well be in here, and obviously there's nothing to stop you really looking at those things and submitting things for them. But I guess the onus is probably on making sure that the things that are due are completed. Yes. So essentially for any one of the delivery dates, so we click on one of these things, click on this top one here. So this is I guess an example of one of the benefits that you've got. So some key information at the top of that sort of identifies what project or contract it relates to, what things actually being delivered. There's a kind of a reference number. So this reference number is a uniquely generated reference number for that particular benefit. So if you want to refer to it when you're talking amongst yourselves or with the authority, that's a unique reference number that could be quite useful. If you or the authority set a label, then that would appear here. So perhaps you've got multiple work placements for school pupils and you want to tell the difference between them, you could you could have a label referring to the particular instance here that might help you to identify it.
Tom, can I just jump in there and say that I do put benefit
Yes.
labels in for all of them, so you'll have a benefit label
Okay.
against each of your SEBs. They're numbered, so if you've got multiples, it'll say employability 1, 2, 3, 4. So you'll be able to tell them apart.
Okay. So you've got that label which Jen is kindly putting in for all of them. So that'll be full there, and you've got a description which I guess it indicates the type of activity that's required. The quantity, the number of the thing that you're delivering. A reference to the kind of the current status of the benefit, and if you either you've previously suggested or you've discussed with Jen and the team, what number of points or value or emission savings that there are related to it, then those would be visible too. And you can also pop this down and have a look at who the project managers are assigned to it. So if you want to get in touch with the particular person who's there to kind of approve and respond to this particular benefit, you can come in and you can see who they are and click through and get in touch with them. One thing I should also point out, which is there are, and I guess this is a question for Jen as well, but there are two types of benefits in the application. There are kind of those that use a template, which I suspect are probably the ones that you're primarily going to be using, where there's a similar set of things. But there's also the possibility that you might have come up with a unique idea, either Jen and the team have, or you have come up with a unique idea which doesn't fit in that menu. And so there is a mechanism in the application in the back end to let those kind of unique benefits be created as well. But so yes, so if you scroll down a little bit, so you've got a date picker here. So essentially, this will always show you, I guess, the date, the latest date that hasn't had evidence submitted. But you can always go in here and choose a different date if you'd like to. So normally, I think I don't know if you're putting in more than multiple dates, but essentially there's the option to put in a start date and potentially one or more interim delivery dates. But there's always a requirement to have a completion date. So every benefit in our application, whoever the buyer is, will have a completion date, which is, I guess, is the minimum. So one date to provide information about what's happened in that benefit. But South Lanarkshire and other buyers may choose to use the start date or add interim dates as well to capture information. Particularly, I guess, if something's been delivered over a long time and they want to get that feedback and work with you throughout the period to make sure that's going well. But in this case, we'll just fill in the start date. So the bit at the top here, we have. Well, this is a question, I guess, that we have. I guess a compulsory question that you need to answer. So in the case, in the specific instance here with South Lanarkshire, that they may well have created different questions to this for the different types of benefits. So they may have multiple questions, and those questions can be a sort of text area one like this, or they can be single or multiple choice questions as well. So there may be one or more questions here for you to fill out, but hopefully not too many to be onerous. So you essentially the ones that are there with the red star. So you need to fill these out. Which I'll do now. So you've got to put an answer to those questions. And then I mentioned the various things that you could suggest earlier as well, and that's these things in these sort of concertinas. So if you wanted to suggest changes to the kind of benefit information, then you can do that in these boxes as well. But the main thing to do is to answer these questions, and then you can click to create the evidence. But I'll just pop these down as we go, just to kind of re-explain what they are if you want to use them. So I mean, in this case, obviously Jen's going to have created a benefit label, and that's cool. I mean, maybe I don't know if you would entertain people suggesting alternatives to that, but certainly perhaps for other buyers, they may not have created labels, or you may want to suggest something here. So I don't know what's this one about work placement. I don't know what we would. I'll put a label in for the moment, just because we're doing this in real time, rather than me trying to think about it. But let's say for some reason you wanted to suggest a new label or change to the existing label, you could do that here. Again, you've got your delivery dates, so you can essentially suggest alternative delivery dates to the ones that you've maybe originally agreed. So maybe you've realized actually you can't deliver it until a week later, or whatever it is. You can suggest that change to a delivery date, or you can you can remove it. You can remove a date, or add an additional date potentially as well, so that you can suggest changes to dates that the team can decide whether or not they're happy with. You've got the location, so perhaps originally you were delivering it in one location, and then perhaps you realize actually it's going to be delivered somewhere else. So again, perhaps that's something that you might want to suggest. I don't know if you're capturing value, but if you are, then if you, as I said earlier, perhaps in the course of doing something you realize how much it's actually worth once you do it. So perhaps you can suggest a value then, and then if the let's say the list of things that an organization has as priorities, you realize actually you meet some of them. Maybe you want to kind of indicate that as well, and indicate the number of people you're benefiting from a particular priority, or whatever the priorities are that are being captured. So a number of things that you could suggest, but as I say, the main thing is answering these, whatever the list of compulsory questions are, potentially suggesting any changes that you feel are appropriate and people are happy to agree to. If something includes personally identifiable information, so something which I guess from a GDPR perspective is considered to be kind of personally identifiable information, you can tick this box to indicate that, and then you've got your create evidence button, so you can create that evidence, and then that's there in the system with the. Sorry,
No,
you
sorry,
look
Tom, just in the
like you're
back
gonna.
of the GDPR there, we're asking
Yes.
that everything uploaded is anonymised. So we don't
Okay.
want any personally identifiable information in the system. Our GDPR requirements in our contract require us from our solicitor side. So our preference is if you're
Okay.
doing case studies or anything that are anonymised, if we're asking for a location of a young person, it's the first 3 digits of the postcode we're looking for. We just don't want any identifiable information in the system. So just for that, just to clarify with that.
Okay. Cool. So in this case, I guess you won't need to tick that, so because you won't be including it. So obviously for that line action. So once you've created the evidence, you've then got the chance to upload files as well. So if you've got a photos or documents or things that you want to include, I'll attach this PowerPoint presentation just so that we've got something there. You can attach one or more files, and this is where if you're using the mobile application, when you click on this, you tap on this button, you can potentially use either the file picker on the device or the camera on the device to take a photo. If you're out and about and you're doing something in that kind of more visceral interpersonal setting, it might be useful. And then once you're happy with everything, you can click to submit for approval. So that will send an email to the project manager or project managers associated with this particular benefit. That they'll then know that you've submitted something and that they're due to look at it and can approve or reject that. So if we flip over actually just temporary, just so you can see what that looks like. So I've got over here, I'm logged in as a buyer, and just to show you hopefully the check process and what that looks like. So yes, so I've got that email now from the supplier employee user, and I've come into the application and maybe followed the link directly, in which case I've been taken straight into this benefit. So this is me, I guess, from the buyer side looking through. There's a few small differences in terms I can see who the supplier users are rather than the project managers, and I've got a chance to update the benefit status here. But essentially, I can. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one, I think. Did I? No, I didn't. Yeah. So essentially, I can see the evidence that's been submitted, the answers that have been submitted. I can look at to all the questions, the compulsory questions that have been asked. I can go through and read all of those. I can download and have a look at any of the additional files or photos that might have been updated. I can agree to any suggested changes. So people suggested a different delivery date, or they've suggested a new label. So I can individually approve these kind of suggestions that have been made, and then the ultimate thing is, I guess, is to approve the evidence itself. So the actual questions and answers. I can either click to approve that holistically, or I can type in a rejection message. So if I click to approve, essentially that's going to send an email to the supplier employee user to confirm that the answers that they're happy with the answers and that the work is complete. Thank you for their work. And then if there's a reason to reject it, maybe there is that personally identifiable information that Jen just mentioned she doesn't want in there. For example, maybe there are other reasons as well why you might not want to accept something. Putting in the reason why into this box and then clicking to reject it, that'll send a slightly different email back to the supplier employee just to confirm what the reason is, and to encourage them to go back in and edit and resubmit the evidence. When the benefit is marked as completed, so when it's marked as delivered, partially delivered, that's when the overall benefit is marked as complete, and then the email goes out, which includes the kind of link to the feedback option, which I think is not being used in this case initially, but might be later on. So that's the kind of the ultimate kind of closure of the particular benefit, and that's when it will also disappear from. If we go back to the supplier perspective, it will disappear from the kind of evidence and pending evidence view. It'll just be in the approved evidence tabs. If you want to go back and look at the sort of historical things that have previously been approved and benefits that are completed, they should all appear in the approved evidence tab. One thing, so for the submitting feedback, the link in the email, would take you to the relevant benefit that would be here, and it would follow a very similar process. In fact, we can probably, well, I mean, as you're not going to be using that, I guess maybe I won't show you now. It's very similar to the evidence. The one difference being there aren't those suggestions to change the benefit data. It's just the answers to the feedback questions and the ability to create that feedback and attach photos and documents. But otherwise follows a very similar process in terms of being approved and rejected, because it's essentially part of the public record. So that's essentially the kind of the core flow, and hopefully quite an easy one to use. Maybe I'll just dwell on a few other things that we've got here. So I guess on the submit page, you can search by benefit. So you can either type in the name of the benefit, the outcome, or the reference number. So if it's got like a reference number like XY02 or whatever it is, you can search by that. Similarly, the projects, kind of the contracts that you've got, searching by their name or their contract reference number, and searching by organization as well. So if you're working with a number of different buyer organizations, which you may be, you could search for South Lanarkshire, or you could search for Edinburgh or Glasgow councils in here and just get the relevant benefits that you're looking for. I guess otherwise, as an employee user, there's some other basics of, I guess, the fundamentals, your ability to come and update your name and phone number, to change your password, and to change your email. Although that's not sure why it's not showing me that, but I'm gonna have to check why that's not showing me. But to change your email address as well. So you've got some basic functionality at the top there, and you can click on the tech support link, which will open the support site, where we've got some answers, some FAQs, and some other information for you. So I guess on this site, there's a supplier and delivery partner section, which just has some basic articles, which basically taught you through what I've just done. So how to submit evidence for benefits, how to submit scores or feedback for benefits, and then a few other ones for those people that choose to become administrators as well. And I think some FAQs which may be useful for some questions. But yeah, but in terms of the basic kind of experience, that's essentially what it is. As I say, I can show the kind of the admin feature we've been working, but probably at this point, probably a good point to take questions around this core experience. If you're still with me.
Perfect. Yes, we are. Sorry, I was going to stop the recording there.